Though, but at the same time, the Great Water Debate has been continuing today with the Murray-Darling Basin Authority travelling to Deniliquin in New South Wales for another community forum. About 1,500 people turned out, and angry farmers who'll have to cut their water allocations under the plan showed their displeasure by burning the authority's report outside the meeting. We'll cross to Canberra now, where political editor Chris Uhlmann is joined by Labor MP Kelvin Thomson and Liberal Senator Simon Birmingham.
Well, gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Simon.
Chris.
Good afternoon, Chris.
Well, Simon Birmingham, to you first. You were in Shepparton yesterday for the first meeting of the Murray-Darling Basin Authority and some government representatives with the people of Shepparton. What was your feeling about that meeting?
Chris, passions are running high right throughout the basin. That was on show in Shepparton yesterday, and I understand from discussions with the local MP, Susan Lay, that it's on show well and truly in Deniliquin today. And it's understandable. These people's livelihoods are on the line, their farms are on the line, and their communities are on the line. And I understand why they're so passionately concerned. What I would say, particularly as I hear of particularly rowdy scenes in Deniliquin today, to people is don't take it out on the public servants who are turning up. Be passionate by all means, get your views across, but really take it to the government as well. Take it to the elected members of the government, take it especially to the Water Minister Tony Burke, who I believe should be out there in these communities. I went to Shepparton yesterday. I'll be in Renmark for the consultations on Friday of this week. I know that between Barnaby Joyce and I, we've covered communities in all 4 basin states since the guide to the plan was released last week. I'd like to know where Tony Burke's been in that time.
Kelvin Thomson?
Chris, this is no time for Simon to be running away from this issue. The fact is that from 2008 onwards, Simon has been calling for action to restore the health of the Murray River. Simon's an intelligent man. He's also South Australian, and I've never yet met a South Australian who isn't absolutely aware of the present unsustainable state of the Murray River. The fact that we've got salinity, algal blooms, river red gums dying, fish species facing extinction, the mouth of the Murray River being kept open by dredging, which is symptomatic of a system on life support. So Simon knows perfectly well that action needs to be taken. He himself has written what is stopping the government from buying back more water licences. So we have to face up to and address the need for action to stop the health of the Murray River and the Murray-Darling Basin from degrading still further.
It's fair to say, isn't it, Simon Birmingham, that the Nationals and the Liberal Party, and particularly the Liberals from South Australia, aren't exactly on the same page with this?
Well, Chris, firstly from a personal perspective, look, I have been passionate about the River Murray from day one when I entered the Senate around 3.5 years ago. It's a topic that I've spoken about more often than any other single topic because it is so important to my home state of South Australia. And I've campaigned hard to see a fair and balanced national management approach to the Murray-Darling system. The concern we have here is whether this approach is fair and balanced and some of the holes that are in the approach that's been put out. And Barnaby Joyce and I have both highlighted concerns at the real paucity of information around the socio-economic analysis that is meant to be balanced against the environmental objectives of this basin-wide plan. We should be striving for win-win outcomes that give the system a healthy and sustainable future, but keep those basin communities healthy and sustainable too. And unfortunately, you have meetings like the one I was at yesterday, and I'm sure again today, where the Basin Authority officials are standing there saying, we concede the economic data we've based this analysis on is lacking, is not detailed enough. Well, the question is why, and what's the government going to do to redress this problem? Just
on that, Kelvin Thomson, when you look at what was said yesterday by Mike Taylor, who's the head of the authority, on that economic modelling and what would happen to the communities, he admitted that the modelling that they used said that not just all agricultural business, but all businesses in Australia were in close proximity to each other and that they could readily adjust and that there were jobs available nearby. Now, that wouldn't be true of any part of Australia, so why on earth would you use modelling like that?
Well, the Murray-Darling Basin Authority needs to respond to questions like that, and clearly the consultation process is intended to develop ideas and obtain information concerning those matters. However, I don't accept the thesis that there is a paucity of information about these issues. Simon has said this is an issue that's been around for 100 years. People have been calling for action for many years. The Murray-Darling Basin has been studied in abundance. It is time to move on to action. Otherwise, we will simply see this river system continuing to degrade. And it's not simply an environmental question, Chris. Ultimately, if the river system degrades, that impacts on the state of the drinking water. Some people say that Adelaide's water is already undrinkable, but the World Health Organisation has talked about it being undrinkable in 10 years by 2 days out of 5. So there are very serious questions that arise if we don't take action to help retain and improve the health of the Murray-Darling Basin.
And just one last brief word on this. Simon, you must agree with that in large part.
And Chris, Kelvin, I am very happy to see the release of this guide and the fact that it is at least a step forward in this process. My concern, though, is that it's not the step forward we had all hoped for, that 3 years after the Water Act was legislated for, this government has not managed to get a guide